Welcome to the story of the carbon atom, and how all life on Earth is based on it. We will be looking at how it was formed, the incredible nature of its properties, and its biological capabilities. This is the story of how we exist on this Earth, and how all four strands of science aid in bringing the carbon atom to be the element of life. We start off with how elements were formed in space through nucleosynthesis. There are many complex forms of nucleosynthesis, but the main three would be Big Bang nucleosynthesis, stellar nucleosynthesis, and supernova nucleosynthesis. We start around 14 billion years ago when time and space were created in the Big Bang. Around 3 minutes after the Big Bang happened, the lighter elements were formed through Big Bang nucleosynthesis. However, they were only nuclei without electrons. These elements are hydrogen and helium. The hydrogen was created in the Big Bang nucleosynthesis is around 75% of our universe today. There was also potential traces of lithium and beryllium. The electron joined the nuclei around 300,000 years later. Now at this point, the universe is just a bunch of gas. However, gravity pushed together lots of this gas over a course of 500 million years, and it created the first star. This is where stellar nucleosynthesis comes in. It's how atoms from helium to iron were made, and that includes carbon. Fusion happens in the core of these stars under super high temperatures and pressure created by a star's collapse and death, which created the heavier and larger elements. Now the elements that were even heavier than iron, up to lead, were created in supernova nucleosynthesis. A supernova is an extremely violent explosion that happens in the last evolutionary stages of a star's life. As I said before, all the elements from iron to lead were created in these supernova explosions. This is possible because of the even higher temperatures and pressures that are created in these supernova explosions. Most of the elements heavier than lead were simply just created in labs. In fact, most of these don't even have any stable isotopes, and therefore they don't have an average atomic mass. Instead, they just have the mass number of the isotope with the longest half-life. These half-lives can range from around an hour to 200 milliseconds. Anyways, that's not important to carbon, so let's move on to the chemical properties of carbon. Carbon is the sixth most abundant element on Earth, and is the backbone of life because of its basic chemical properties. Carbon is a non-metal and is in group 14 of the periodic table. Carbon has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 Carbon has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 4 valence electrons. That's better. Its relatively small size compared to other elements makes it flexible and a good building blocks. The 4 valence electrons makes it able to bond in several ways with other elements, mostly covalent bonds. When carbon bonds with another carbon, it's relatively strong but can also break apart. Carbon has a unique ability to concatenate, which makes millions of complicated structures that make up life. These structures can be in many geometrical forms. Now with all these different unique properties, we'll move on to how it affects biology. Now generally, all organic compounds contain carbon, and organic compounds are associated with living things. Carbons are also part of hydrocarbons, organic compounds made out of carbon and hydrogen that are mostly gases and fuels and have several uses. The first hydrocarbon is methane, a carbon atom covalently bonded with 4 hydrogens, which fulfills the octet rule with 8 valence electrons. So methane is CH4. The next hydrocarbon would be ethane, C2H6, then propane, C3H8. With each element, the carbon increases by 1 and the hydrogen by 2. Carbon is also present in our muscles, our bones, organs, and many other components of living matter such as carbohydrates, amino acids, RNA, DNA, lipids, and proteins. Carbon is also extremely important because of its role in photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight are converted into glucose, which is essential to the life of all plants. It is equally important to us as the waste product, oxygen, which was separated from the carbon, is now in the air for us to breathe. Then we take in that oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide once again. To end things off, we'll talk about physics and electricity. But first we have to talk about allotropes. Allotropes are two or more physical forms in which an element can exist. For example, diamonds and graphite are two allotropes of carbon. The physical properties are remarkably different too. Diamonds are colorless solids which are really hard. They're high density and have a high melting point, and they're very poor electricity conductors. Graphite is a gray shiny solid which is slippery to the touch, but also soft. It's a low density but has a high melting point, and is an excellent electrical conductor.
Hi, graphite. I like graphite. It's a specific arrangement of carbon atoms that is highly conductive. Now let's kick it up a notch. I'm going to run 10 amps through a regular pencil's graphite. Wow, this is good. Oh my god!
Carbon zinc is also a great conductor of electricity and is regularly used in batteries.
Carbon rod from a carbon zinc battery, not an alkaline battery. Its structure is different. Some arcs now.
In conclusion, carbon is an incredible element that has millions of uses for us, and it's everywhere in our bodies too. It really comes down to the way that it bonds with so many elements in so many different ways. It is incomprehensible to even great scientists what life on Earth without carbon would be like.